Hi, my name is Johnny Gicar. Welcome to The Works. Mindset, self-awareness, and personal growth, and strive towards the ultimate goal of mastering ourselves. Let's mindset engineer. Welcome to The Works.
Okay, what's up, folks? We got Fred and the Forest in the house tonight. What's up, Freddie?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I'm good. So what's going on with you? What's new? What's cracking? How you keeping busy?
How am I keeping busy? Well, I get to work from home, so that's always fun.
How you enjoying?
I hate working from home. It's
Really?
it's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible. I don't get to talk. I get to talk to myself, basically. So I talk to the phone, I talk to this computer screen, I talk to the printer. They're my best friends now.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I was gonna say. You made a lot of new friends you never knew you had.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And so, yeah, no, you miss the human connection when you're used to
Yeah, for
working in an
sure.
office.
Well, I
You
think.
you kind of miss those connections, and even stupid little conversations that you have with people about what you do on the weekend or what you do last night. As inane conversations like that are actually quite meaningful if you look at it in the bigger scope of things. So.
For
Yeah,
sure. But
I kind of miss that.
do you guys use like that Zoom teleconference or
Yeah, we do.
Skype or whatever?
Welcome to Zoom. Please enter your TCON ID followed by the pound sign or hash key. That one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the first time I used it, actually, no, the first time wasn't Zoom. I used Microsoft Teams. Oh
Teams,
my
yeah.
God, what a mess. There was like 8 cameras pointed at everybody. You saw like one guy had like baseball trophies in the back. Another guy had the poster of Playboy magazine in the back. It was like you get to see like the different side of people and what they have at home.
Yeah, it's strange. You get to see people in their homes and you see how differently they present themselves.
It's true, man.
It's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, I saw a guy today who
The-
was wearing a baseball cap on a Zoom meeting, like as if he's like, I'm in my house. I don't give a shit. Like I'll wear what I
exactly.
want. And I haven't
Fuck it.
shaved. I haven't shaved in like 3 weeks, so I'm here with a half gray, half gray, half black beard, and people are like, "Oh, why? What's wrong? Why are you so shy?" It's like, first of all, I look like shit. I haven't had a haircut in 8 weeks, and I haven't shaved in 4 to 6 weeks. I can't even remember when I shaved.
Well,
And
especially you that you get like haircuts what every
every three
2 weeks,
weeks, two
three
no
weeks
3 weeks. Yeah, I had to cut. Yeah,
on the nose.
on the nose. Yeah, I plan them in advance, like six. No, I do 2 haircuts in advance. I plan
Down.
I do the appointment. Yeah, because I like
Okay.
I like to do it a specific day, a specific time, because I have to go all the way downtown. So I go when it's
Okay.
free parking, and I go in the morning when there's no traffic, and I don't get my balls busted downtown by a bunch of idiots. So, well, I mean,
You're the planner.
well, I plan accordingly. Like, what the hell? Why the hell not? I mean, I can't just walk in. It's not like the old barber shop. Like, hello, can you cut my hair? Yeah, just don't worry about it. 20 minutes, you know? I used to do that on like Friday nights
There
with my
you
grandfather. So I used to go
go.
cut our hair on a Friday night, you know? But that was
Did he,
many, many
did
years
he just
ago.
did he just shave your head at that time? What was your
No, no,
haircut?
it was no. I just had a regular haircut, a bit short on the sides, a bit of length on the top. I always had basically the same haircut until I started growing my hair. And then after it was
Nice.
like I go to a barber shop and he's like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? Like, there's nothing to do here. It's like I just cut some off the tail. But anyway, so yeah, I saw. So they were forced. They were not forcing me. Um, they were pushing me to show myself on camera. So I turn on the camera, and I'm like, forgive me for what about you're about to see. And then in the back, I realized that I had all my dad's.
Did you dress up?
No, I was wearing a Puma hoodie. Yeah, I didn't dress
Okay.
up. I don't. I never dress up. No, I have no reason
Okay.
to, because I dress.
True.
I dress business casual in the office. So fuck it. I'm at home. I'm not meeting any suppliers. I'm not meeting anybody professional. So what the hell do I? Hell do I
And
care, right?
how did that change your job though? Like that you're not meeting anybody, or you used to, like, let's say, like, has the forms of negotiation changed?
Yeah, there are no
Or the
negotiation. There is no negotiation.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you
there's
didn't
no.
even have to you didn't even have to adapt your tactics. It just got cut off completely.
Well, in a way, it's like we're avoiding to do most of the job with regards to negotiation and um, like supplier agreements, and we're doing the bare minimum because of a lot of different factors. One, you don't have the people, the resources in the office that you could just go talk to get information quickly. So everything takes 3, 4 times longer to do.
Mhm.
Even if you have the tools like Teams, it's usually the people are busy talking to somebody else. In the office, you
Yeah,
can just go back every 10 minutes until they're free, and you see that they're free. So there's ways of doing it, and when you're face to face, to kind of like influence them. So the negotiation is not only for external people, it's internally getting your point across, trying to influence people to come on your side in order to make a decision as a group. There's a lot of things that's more difficult to do. You don't see them, you don't look at their body language. You most of the time they're on mute. You can't hear if they're even paying attention to you. There's
So
so much different. Yeah.
if you were the owner of a company or a big boss or whatever, and you had the option, or your employees would say, I could work from home, or I could do this job at home, would you allow it? Would you recommend it?
Well,
Would you object to it?
for some jobs, yes. For some jobs, I would allow it, yes, because some
Okay.
jobs are completely useless. But a lot of stuff and things that we take for granted, a lot of things have to be done face to face. A lot of the time, you influence people from things not even related to work. You have lunch with them, you go have a coffee, you shoot the shit, you talk about the weekend, you talk about the
Yeah,
latest television trend about a guy who raises
exactly.
tigers, stupid shit like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
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 you form that relationship before anything else, right?
exactly, exactly. So in
Man.
my case, I already have a lot of that relationship with the people that were already there. The newer people, I'm still working on building it. So
Okay.
so yes, I have to say that it changed. Obviously, the supplier negotiation is much more difficult, and I'm trying to avoid it whenever possible because you call somebody on the phone, you cold call them. Some suppliers I've never even spoken to. We just keep buying the same shit from them year after year for 20 years. I never had that reason to call. And the first time I call, we're in the middle of a fucking crisis, and
Mhm.
you want your product to be delivered in less than the regular amount of time, and they're like, but who are you? Don't you understand that we're in a worldwide fucking pandemic, and we
Yeah,
can't cater to you? Like, chill out, relax. There's millions of people that want their product fast. So it's
exactly.
challenging because I can go and tell the production floor, sorry, you don't have your plastic bottles, so you can't produce this week. It's already enough that the production as it is lower than what it previously was because the
Hmm.
fact that people can't work close together. There's fucking the sales are going down because we sell directly to hospitals. Hospitals do less procedures that they do, the less products that we sell.
Hmm.
So it's very challenging. So I don't really have the need to negotiate so much externally, with the exception of personal protective equipment. So that's the thing that busted fucking balls for the last 6 weeks is trying to find basic things that I took for granted beforehand. Masks,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
alcohol,
and now how's that? And how's that
gloves.
going? Like,
It's a
I know the
disaster.
PPE is like
It's a disaster.
worldwide, everywhere.
Oh no, forget it. You can't get it. If you're getting personal protective equipment, you're getting the rip-off garbage. So we
Yeah.
have these knockoff brands that are becoming very popular. So if you're able to get personal protective equipment, congratulations. But it's not 3M and it's not Ronco and it's not any of the big companies, because all of those actually those, what do you call that? Compliant. They comply to certain regulations for personal protective equipment. NIOSH, I think it's called,
Yeah.
something, right? Those
Yeah,
are
for
going
sure.
straight to the hospitals.
Yeah, they have the exclusivity right now, right? It's during the middle of a pandemic. They have the exclusivity of getting those.
Yeah. So I have the luxury when I receive a couple of masks, and when I say a couple of masks, it's like literally that. It's like a half a box. Once in a while, a few weeks ago, I received 1 or 2 boxes of 20 masks, a bit here and there. But that it's the challenging part is trying to, because look, if I can't tell, and it's the same situation with, because I work in purchasing, so it's the same situation for anything. I can't go up to the people that are on the production floor and say, you can't produce because I can't get this product for you. That's unacceptable. I get fired. So I have to find a solution. Doesn't matter what the solution, how crazy the solution is, we can't not produce. We're a manufacturing plant, so I can't not feed that. And
so what do you guys do now? So how do you manage it if you're not getting the stuff?
Well,
that's being used.
So back in February,
how do you deal with it?
So back in February, what I did is I placed all kinds of orders with all kinds of different suppliers that I've never used before in my life. I was just placing orders a bit everywhere. And out of all of those orders, and I'm talking about tens of thousands of masks, tens of thousands, I only received maybe 10% of what I actually ordered. And that's when I knew, number one, it's going to be a rough couple of weeks. Number two, we're not priority in the whole scheme of things. So we changed, we put in place some controls so that we stop using as many as we used to. We're making sure that we have a register, so we lock down all of the personal protective equipment. I mean, at one point, people were stealing gloves, like a production floor employees stealing fucking gloves and masks to use outside of work. And
personal use, right?
Yeah, for personal use. So that way, like, we realized as soon as we started hearing the news of this pandemic, it's like, holy shit, we gotta watch out and we gotta start controlling things. So, inventory control is always important, no matter if you're in a pandemic or not. So we had certain controls put in place to avoid theft. And in terms of supply, well, because we had a better control, we found creative ways to get different sources of supply, and we're kind of pulling through. But I mean, we're not out of the hole yet. We're at the very beginning.
Yeah, exactly. This is just the start.
This is just the start.
Because this is gonna have like months and months and months of like backlash, or by it's just gonna continue.
Yeah.
I mean, how many? It won't, like, the switch turned on fast, but it won't turn off just as fast, right? It's gonna be even longer.
No,
so
absolutely not, and we have to be prepared for that. So we're always keeping an eye out on the market to see what's available, what isn't, and so we have a lot of small textile companies that are making reusable masks, but not particulate masks like N95 or P100. They're using they're making just a cover for your face to stop you from infecting other people, which is the same it's the same idea like a surgical mask, like those blue surgical masks, the rectangular ones.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's to protect the people around you rather than protect yourself.
exactly.
Kind of, yeah.
So,
and that's what you see most people wearing in the streets today,
Yeah.
right? There are all those things.
wearing incorrectly, I think I have to say, I have to add that word in. Wearing a lot of PPE incorrectly. Whether
Wow,
it's
that
gloves
and
or
and
masks. Yeah.
and it's how they not only how they wear it, but also how they handle it. Their handling is totally like they're putting it on and off 52 times a day, touching their face. You know, you see these people. It's like putting it down on their chin or letting it hang off one ear, and then putting it back on, and they're basically wearing it all day long, on and off, on and off, on and off. Which, at the end of the day,
That
you're not really helping the cause.
that pisses me off so much because these people are wasting equipment that is supposed to be used to save people. They're wasting it, and they're probably
Yeah.
infecting themselves and some people around them. They're completely stupid, and it's not even. And it's not, I'm
Well,
not even
that's-
exaggerating. They're dumb. They don't go to seek the information. They don't know how to put the mask on. They don't know how to remove the gloves. So I can't get gloves and masks. We're a multi-billion-dollar company. Where are you getting the masks? Tell me.
He had them in his garage probably.
Oh, fuck. I saw one kid walking down the street. He had you know, the 3M half face mask with the respirators with the cartridges. You know, the ones that the painters use for like noxious gas. I was like, where did you get this, man?
Yes.
Where do you get this equipment, man? It's like that's like hundreds of dollars worth of equipment.
Maybe it was painting for a guy, and the painter helped him out. He gave him a mask, or he was doing varnishing of stairs, or something like that.
Painter, he ain't painting no more. I'll tell you that much. Poor guy. So yeah, we're living in such a strange time right now, and you know, like it's not just personal.
Everything's strange.
It's not just personal protective equipment. Like I want to go. You know, you said you wanted me to talk about like gardening and stuff. So we'll do I went.
So tell me about your gardening. What do you think of the future of gardening?
Okay, so
since I know you're
the future's fucked, man. Oh, we're so fucked. Listen to this. So
explain.
I went to go buy seeds because I have a lot of seeds in my seed bank, but I didn't plant anything because we're planning to do renovations in my backyard, so it would have had a major impact on the quantity and the like just the control that I have on the garden would have been a mess because then I'm competing for space between construction workers and plants and whatever. So I didn't plant anything this year. I said this year I'm gonna skip. Fine. And I was okay with that. I said I'll do something else. You know, I'll go do something else with my time. Maybe I'll just plant 1 or 2 plants, you know, a couple of tomatoes, cucumbers, you know, basic stuff. Not like 15 tomato plants and like 20 peppers and like all kinds of salad everywhere like I usually do. So I skipped looking for seeds, and I didn't plant anything because usually by now I plant my seeds usually around the 20th of March, between the 20th and the last week of March, more or less, which is 8.
And those you keep them indoors until they germ, or how does that work?
They germinate within a few days, depending on the what type of plant it is.
Indoors,
yeah. Put on
indoors.
On the windowsill. Okay. Put on the windowsill. Water it, and the plants grow for about 6 weeks, and then once it starts getting hot outside, I take them in and out to get them used to the temperature. And I did that last year, and it was a bit of a mess, you know, because it's a learning curve. You have to find the right window. You have to find the angle of the sun is important because the sun, when it comes in, it has to hit the plant from the top. If it's hitting it from the side, it could make the plant like the plant is always going to go towards the sun. So if it's coming from a weird angle, your plants are going to be all weird, angled. So whatever.
Okay.
That's a little project that I have going. I've been saving my own seeds and starting them. the last couple of years, but it's getting to the point where I'm starting a lot of seeds in my windowsill, with the exception of this year. Then the pandemic hit, and the renovation was pretty much canceled, or was pushed out so far that we're not going to even bother with that. So now I said, I was just thinking about it in the last week or two. I was like, now I have opportunity to plant the garden that I wanted to. So I went on some of the seed companies' websites, and I see this fun little notice that says, important. Due to current demand and limited resources, please realize that your seed order may take longer to ship. We are currently shipping seed orders received on March 30th. March 30th was 2 weeks ago. That's their processing to ship. That doesn't take into consideration the delays for preparing the actual shipment, putting the stamp on it, sending it to the post office, all of the regular delays. This is a company that.
So you'll get them in June.
Potentially in June. And they're all like that. Now, then I took a step back and I said, what the hell is going on? Like, why are people buying so many seeds? And then after you start to look at the supply chain of food, where does your food come from? Most of our food comes from overseas. So little percentage comes from local growers, because obviously we're in winter. Not much can grow at this time of year, with the exception of like greenhouses that grow like tomatoes year round. And there's very few exceptions, but they're very sophisticated systems. So now everybody's freaking out because food, like the food supply chain, is not broken. It's just it's
slowed down.
It's slowed down because of the amount people are buying all at the same time. The bread, all the staples, the bread, the milk, the eggs, all that shit is all fucked because there's so much demand all at the same time, unexpected demand, that
because people are buying 4 of everything now when they go.
Exactly. The same problem that we had with toilet paper. I'm telling you, for like 2 or 3 week window of time in March, I couldn't get toilet paper for the office. I couldn't get toilet.
So what did you use? What did you guys use?
In stock. I just couldn't buy more because I said, fuck, if in the pharmacy and the grocery store there's no toilet paper, I go, what about my suppliers? Like, we still have to shit. People still shit. So, I can't say, oh no, we're out of toilet paper. Sorry. It doesn't work like that. I still need to buy it anyway. So I had trouble buying toilet paper. On top of all of this garbage, I had toilet paper to deal with. The toilet paper, it's a 5-minute order. You put in a purchase order, you send it off, and you're done. Now I had to call 10 different suppliers. Do you have this type of toilet paper? Do you have standard roll? Do you have jumbo roll? Do you have coreless, with core, without core? Do you have the distributors? Anyway, what a mess. Back to the seeds. So the problem is...
Well, because wait a minute. If you have those seeds, you don't need toilet paper, right?
That's right. You just use the leaves.
Technically.
The leaves of the seeds.
Okay.
So then after I saw a couple of I follow like farmers and stuff on YouTube and Instagram. So I follow a lot of local farms. The local farms seem to be doing everything normally, with the exception of the volume. The volume that they're growing now locally is much higher, it seems, than before, and that's because of it's called the bullwhip effect in supply chain. So what happens is you get a huge spike in demand, or you get a huge back order. What happens is that people start purchasing more on top of their normal rhythm of ordering. So that happened to toilet paper, and that happened to alcohol, disinfectants, and blah, 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 blah.
Okay, but here's my question now. Are people actually overbuying or over-consuming fresh produce? And that's the reason why they got to that point?
But people are afraid.
Okay.
That's another source of the demand. Okay. In this case, for the seeds.
So fear could increase
Absolutely,
demand.
yeah. You wanna have your
Okay.
seeds in your pocket and not somewhere, not at a competitor, number one, or
In
not at a
outer space.
warehouse.
Yeah.
Because there were at one
Okay.
point in time there was the potential for shipments to be completely stopped because the guy in the truck who comes and brings the shipments, if he has COVID, he's bringing
Hmm.
COVID to every customer, hundreds of customers, and those hundreds
Exactly.
of customers ship to
Exactly.
thousands of customers, and there you have another pandemic. So,
There
so
you
what's
go.
happening now is that because of the fear, there's certain producers, the imports are being slowed down. I don't think locally they're buying more, but I think that there's some problems with the supply chain. So there's huge spikes in demand. Look, for produce, I don't think it's that significant, but I know for like the staples, bread, flour,
Hmm.
milk, eggs, that it's huge. It's completely destabilized. With the produce, I think that it's a bit more stable. The problem is people are preparing
Okay.
for the future, and that's what I think is happening. So yeah, the bullwhip effect. So what happens is that there's a huge spike in demand, and what happens is that you have an empty period of time. What happens is that because of that empty period of time, orders keep piling up and keep accumulating. So what the supplier does, or the manufacturer, whoever in the chain, in the level above the customer, he starts gearing up and he starts buying more. And then the guy before him, so you have distribute at the distributor level, at the distributor level they start buying more. Then at the manufacturer levels they start producing more, and then the raw materials people see that there's a huge increase in production. They start making their own raw materials more and more. So what happens is that it's like a bullwhip. No, and you throw a whip. There's the waves of the whip. It gets
Hmm.
bigger and bigger
Exactly.
further up the chain that you go. So they call that the bullwhip effect.
Yeah,
And then
it's a ripple effect all the way up.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what happens is that once everybody is satisfied at the customer level, a lot of them are going to stop ordering. So what happens is that you're going to have excess supply, and then you're going to drive all the prices down, and then they're going to tank the economy. So,
Okay, so here's the thing. Right now, prices are going up because of this whole over demand or whatever, and
the prices are
eventually,
high because
what's
of the
gonna happen?
limited supply. Once the supply is
Okay.
excess, that's when they're going to drive the price down. Because at one point
Okay.
everybody's gonna have toilet paper, and then after the companies won't know what to do with it, so they're gonna put it on sale. They're gonna try to drive the price down in order to stimulate sales.
Yeah.
It's a fun balance between supply and demand. The more supply you have, um, technically, the lower the price should be. This is keeping everything else equal. If you have a really, really high supply, your price should be very low because you want to incentivize customers to buy it. If your demand is
Hmm.
very, very, very
Hmm.
high, you want to keep the price high because you want to control that demand. And also because the demand being so high, you can get away with charging a higher price. The supply is low, obviously the person with the biggest wallet is going to get it. So he's willing to give you more
There you
money.
go.
So the
Hmm.
seeds, the seeds situation, I think, is caused by the local growers seeing the potential for making more money, seeing the potential for a problem in the supply chain from imports from other countries who may or may not have an impact because of COVID. So they're foreseeing a problem.
So they're preparing
I think
themselves
so.
basically
Yeah,
on having all that stock in like their
yeah,
back
yeah.
pocket in
And
case, right?
personal
Okay.
like small growers are probably doing the same thing because now is not all.
But do you think these small growers now are gonna like rise to the occasion and could build a bigger business
Yes,
because of this? Like they're gonna be kind of like not taking advantage of the situation, but stepping up to the plate and saying, "Okay, it's time for us to
yeah,
go now,"
and I
right?
think it's a big to be perfectly honest, I think it's a big scam. I think it's just based on fear. I don't think that the supply chain is broken. Transportation is still
Mhm.
it's still happening. I think production is still happening for all of these essential services, fruits, vegetables. I think it's still happening. Is it happening at the same rhythm? I think there's still a lot of stock in the chain to make it seem like there's no problem. They're maybe foreseeing problems and taking
Mhm.
advantage of it. The problem, though, is that with people
Okay.
not out of work, what is the price that you're gonna have to sell these vegetables for? And usually the small scale
Exactly.
growers demand a high price because they have high overhead, they don't have efficient systems,
Mhm.
they have high labor. And if you look at a highly mechanized like tomato plant, like those greenhouse tomatoes, well, that half
Mhm.
of the work is probably done by machines. There's one or two guys who do inspections, but it's so highly mechanized, it's so automated that there's
Well, that's the question. We see here like our prices in winter time, right? The winter months, they go
Mhm.
up. So personally, I think that those prices are going to stay up and probably continue going up, even though it's like growing season here in our area, right? I think it's still going to stay up,
Well,
the
yeah.
prices. Like you won't be able to go to the fresh market and get like high quality for like good summertime price.
That depends on what people are willing to pay for a good local, let's say, organically grown product. Are people gonna have enough
Yeah,
disposable income to pay those prices? If people will still pay those prices, then those farmers will still sell them. Will they sell as much as they did last year? I think 100% no. There's no way that they're gonna sell as much as last year when there was an economic boom. Everybody had a job. There was no issues. Now you can't even get to the fucking market to go buy these vegetables. So
yeah. I drove by today actually, next to the market, and basically the market
yeah.
was closed. There was no farmers there, nothing being sold, because of the social distancing stuff. The stores around the market were open, but the market itself was not open.
So that's gonna have an impact on whether or not they sell. And also you have to look at big producers versus small producers. The big producers are still producing. There's no issues with social distance on a 100-acre farm. There's no problem. They
Mhm.
have the seeds. They don't have the labor, but they're so highly mechanized that the tractors they run by themselves. There's no people on the tractors.
Yeah,
You push the button, the tractor drives by
yeah,
itself.
exactly.
It waters, it plants, it fertilizes, it sprays, it does everything by itself. And a tractor, it's like
Yeah,
$600,000, but it does all the work for you. It replaces like 100 men. So so
exactly.
so it's going to be very interesting how it plays out. I think that the small growers uh, might be impacted because they're going to try to sell their produce at a higher price, but people don't have the money to pay for it. So I think, like, look at the luxuries that went away in the last couple of weeks. People don't eat at restaurants anymore. People don't go to
Mhm.
the movies. People don't are not wasting money. There's millions of people out of work.
Exactly.
That's millions of people out of work. That's tens
Mhm.
of millions of dollars that are not being spent in the economy. And when everything goes back,
Exactly.
um, what are they going to prioritize? Are they going to cut on food in order to go socialize? Are they going to entertain themselves and save money on the food? So you see, you have to look at the big picture. If I have $100 in my pocket, I could do a bit of everything. If I have $50 in my pocket, I'm not gonna buy a tomato at $4. Sorry, a dozen eggs for seven
Mhm.
bucks, 7.95.
But I think that when that's going to happen is if the prices stay up, people will say, well, okay, instead of spending money and having to cook for myself and spending money on these high price items, what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, fuck it. I'm just going to go to a restaurant. At least I could socialize. I could have fun and I'll enjoy myself and I don't have to
Right.
cook or clean up. So I think there's going to be like half the population that's going to be more self-conscious of it, and the other half is going to probably say, well, fuck it. I've held back for X amount of time. Now I'm going to go out and spend my money at
Exactly.
restaurants and
That's a
socializing
good point.
activities, right?
But where do the restaurants get the food that they cook?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the whole thing. Is that their price on the menu, like a plate that was gonna cost you $20-$25? Well, now it's probably gonna be
Yeah.
$35 or $40,
It's
whatever,
funny,
right?
'cause,
So
the other day I was pricing out a plate of cacio e pepe in my head. I was like, how much?
beautiful, my best pasta.
How do restaurants get away with charging you $20 to $25 for a plate of pasta? And I did the calculations in my head. I got the most expensive pack of pasta that I saw in my life was like $6.95. Okay, $6.95. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's 4 portions. It's like a restaurant will take all the ingredients, okay, and then they'll add up everything. So at $2 for the pasta, $3 for the cheese, 10 cents
Mhm.
for the pepper, a boiling what else is there? Cacio e pepe is just cheese and pepper. So whatever. They add everything together, multiply by whatever their markup is. Usually it's 30, 60, I don't know, 80%, depends on the restaurant. And that's their price. If all of their food costs are going up by 10, 15, 20%, that means all the restaurant price is going up 10, 15%. But
There you go.
you have less money to spend on the restaurant now. So are you going to go to that restaurant? So
it's going to take time, man. It's going to take time. It's going to take time for people to go back to that routine, right? And also, at the end of the day, it all depends. There's a lot of people that I know that I'm like talking to or that I work with. They're still working 100% from home. Their salaries are still there. Their income is still there. And then you have some other people on the other side of the spectrum where there's no more income. So, for some people, it might go back to their normal routine faster than others. So,
and so that you will have to wait until it plays out. I think because of the fear, if I have to like judge it by today, I think that it's gonna be the same situation with toilet paper. Everybody's hoarding toilet paper, and now in 2 months they're gonna see what a big mistake they made, and they're gonna try to dump. They're gonna try to dump their stock, and they're gonna dump it at whatever price you give it to them. Just like those idiots that they try to return a carriage full of toilet paper at Walmart.
Yeah. You heard about that, right? You heard about that, the returns of toilet paper and whatnot and everything that they bought.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So anyway, back to the story is I tried to
your garden.
I tried to buy seeds, and this all of the websites are like extreme delays. One company said we're just not processing personal orders for the next 4 weeks. Let's just forget about your home garden this year. Forget about it. Sorry. And another website they had 2 to 3 weeks delay. Then they removed 2 to 3 weeks, and it just says takes longer to ship. And so.
So it's only give you an ETA.
So then what I did is I took a look at my seed bank, and I noticed that I have some interesting stuff that I can plant. But what I really wanted was cucumbers. I used to have a pack of cucumbers, and I finished it at one point because the seeds were very old, so they weren't germinating, and so now I'm just hoping at this point that the pépinière and those what do you call those nurseries are open by next month. I just want them to be open.
Well, I think they did announce that they could be they are open as of this week.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. They opened up um, anything that has to do with plants and gardening products. All that I think is opened as of
Okay,
this week,
good,
if I'm not
good. I was
mistaken.
getting worried about that.
Yeah,
So this year I'm just gonna go buy most of
yeah.
my
So,
plants, I guess.
and what are you planting other than cucumbers?
I'm planting tomatoes, some peppers, salad, bananas.
You're planting. You're starting a
Yeah,
banana
banana is
tree.
easy to plant. You take the banana and you just stick it in the ground, and like 6 months later, you have a banana tree.
It's not
Yeah,
that
do it. You
nice
can even do it
weather,
in
right?
your on your windowsill. You take a banana, throw it in a pot of earth, and you see what happens 6 months from now. I want people to try it. Try it and get back to me. See what happens. But yeah, so yeah, the usual suspects. I think I grew too much stuff last year, and I had a lot of extra extra stuff and extra plants to manage. Some plants didn't do as well
Hmm.
as I would have liked. But last year was very, very hot, so I was constantly watering the plants, and I think I'm gonna change up the technique this year because I do mostly container gardening, so the plants dry up very quickly.
And where how do you get all your information? Because I'll be honest, I've been looking at it, and I actually told my parents to start a garden this year. To get some tomato and some plants and some cucumbers and some salad and whatever. But I'm not an expert on that, so I've been looking at YouTube videos of
Farmer
Farmer
Bill,
Bill.
yeah.
I think that's his name, Farmer Bill, and he was actually doing stuff on um, what do they call it? High bed
Raised
gardening or
raised
something like that.
beds, yeah,
So it's
raised
out of
beds,
ground,
yeah.
raised bed gardening. So it's out of ground, and I don't know. I was trying to look at what's the best earth and how to use compost and blah blah blah. And it's like it's a freaking science, man. It's really like you have to put some time into it. You can't just plant stuff and water it
Well,
and
you
expect it
could,
to grow.
yeah.
You
Well,
actually
you
kill
could
the
in a way. You
plant, right?
could, what you don't get in yield, you'll get an experience, and that's mainly where you're gonna learn from observing the plant and what happens
Yeah.
if you give too much water, what happens if you don't give enough. But YouTube videos is a good place to start as a basic guide, looking at your space. Where did I learn? I have a Canadian
Hmm.
Encyclopedia of Gardening. I have the Market Gardener book. I have vegetables and
Gee.
herbs for the greenhouse and polytunnel. I have the Farmer's Almanac every year since 2015.
So I think you did some studying and some reading, and some
Yeah, I got
and
seed
some
sowing and
experience.
dating. I have a book called I have the Old Farmer's Almanac Matt.
I remember last year the best salad I had all of last year actually came from using
Yeah,
your
yeah, it was
produce.
pretty good.
Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Well,
Yeah,
I,
it was a
I
fantastic
can't, I
salad.
can't, I can't vouch for myself. I don't know. I haven't tried other people's salads. I refuse to try other people's salads. I have so much of it myself. But thank you. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Phenomenal, honestly. It didn't, you know what? It didn't taste like plastic. It actually, the whatever you were eating had the flavor properties of what it
nice.
actually
Yeah, I'm very
was.
happy about
You
it.
know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very rewarding
Yeah,
to
fantastic.
grow your own food, especially that the quality is much higher.
Yeah.
Although it's a headache sometimes because you have to deal with animals, you have to deal with pests, to deal with insects that eat your food.
And sunburns.
Exactly.
Sunburns.
So where to start? Yeah, YouTube is a good place to start. Again, there's a lot of misinformation on YouTube. People start shooting off like lists of chemicals that you have to buy in order to get a successful garden. But
So you use all natural stuff?
not for every vegetable.
Okay.
I use
Okay.
I use what you call quote unquote chemical fertilizers sometimes. But I also have natural fertilizers, and I choose when to use one versus the other. Like when I'm very close to harvesting the vegetables, I'll use a natural fertilizer because by that time the plant uh, would have used up all the chemical. And in my head, I think that um, the further you are away from using chemicals, the better it is. But I don't have I don't have a compost bin. I don't have ways to bring nutrition into my earth because my earth is in containers. So I use as natural as possible, but I use chemical fertilizer to help when plants are not doing very, very well, um, or if they can just use a little bit of a boost. But really, the basic chemical is exactly the same. What a plant extracts from natural fertilizer is the same chemical like what you find in like the blue powder. It's the same thing. It's just that when you use natural, you have minerals and you have little micronutrients that are not found in like those big box Miracle Grow and shit like that. So it's not bad, but it's difficult. It's difficult to grow natural because you have to make sure you have compost. You have to make sure to feed your soil. You have to make sure that your soil is healthy. That you add that you have the right soil life.
Is there a way? Is there a way to test? Yeah, is there a way to test your soil, like the composition of your soil, and if it has all the like the nutrients or
yeah, of course.
Is there a way to test that?
Take a sample from your soil, put it in a jar, and you send it to the lab, and they test how much all the mineral content. They test nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium levels. They look at minerals, metals, lead. Obviously, lead. You want to test for lead, iron, zinc, calcium levels will severely affect your ability to grow things. Sulfur, some things grow really good with sulfur in the soil. Look for lime, and for a whole bunch of stuff.
And I've seen somewhere too also like the location of where you plant certain plants or vegetables. Example can be side by side. Like some certain vegetables don't like being beside. I don't know. I guess the nutrients that's another plant absorbs that they need or something like that.
For space and for food. But I wouldn't worry about that on your first garden. I would just put the plants in the earth, make sure that you feed them, make sure that they get water and sun, and that's all you worry about on the first time. Because it could be very, very complicated to the point where you start mixing in different micronutrients. You start using algae extracts, you start using chicken manure, you start adding fish compost, you start getting fermented fish juice. You start adding Epsom salts. You start adding fucking aspirin. There's people that they add baking soda sprays, and you start spraying the plant to remove fungus spores from spreading. And after you
oh my god, this is highly complex.
Down the hole, you're screwed. I mean, in a good way.
I was basically reading on like what's the best type of earth to buy to put in a pot to grow a plant.
The easiest thing the easiest thing. It's very simple. I think I don't want people to complicate their life. If you put it in a pot, you buy potting soil. If you put it in the garden, the earth, you put compost.
Okay.
And that's it. Don't complicate your life.
Okay.
You put a bit of compost. You could even put a bit of compost in your potting soil. That'll be even a good thing. So you have your earth, potting soil, fine, or peat moss. You could even make your own potting soil, but I don't think you want to do that. You have to buy everything in bulk and then mix it yourself. And you buy your food. You can buy your chicken shit pellets. You can have your compost. You can buy a chemical fertilizer if you wish. And then you have to worry about water. Get yourself a watering can. Make sure you have a pot to grow it in, preferably dark in color and not terracotta. Terracotta seems to dry out very quickly. You're going to be watering twice a day, every day.
Because it heats up, right, with the sun, I'm assuming.
But black is good if you're growing tomatoes because it heats up the base of the tomato plant and it tends to grow better. But whatever, I say that because I have white pots and they turn brown and black with time, so they don't look white anymore. I have like red and green, a whole bunch of colors, and they all look like shit after 3 years. So whatever. So that's it. Like, you shouldn't complicate your life. And if you want to start your seeds, fine. It takes a lot of patience. You have to watch them every day. You have to take care of them. You have to make sure that they stay watered. You don't overwater them. It could be very time consuming. Yeah, the plants
it's a lot of work.
Are already time consuming. For example, plants in like the strongest heat of the summer, like July ish, around the middle of July, that's when they get those like plus 30, 32 days. Okay, plants in that weather, they can't you can't not water them every day. You have to water them every day, unless you have a watering sprinkler system, you have a drip system, you have some way to get water to the plant. Last year I watered them every single day for 3 weeks because it was just too hot.
What if it rained?
1 or 2 days. Yeah, watering in the sense that somebody has to give water to the plant. So on days that it rained very, very heavily, I would get away with 1 extra day because it's so hot. But that's my problem when I do container gardening is that I don't have a drip irrigation system, so I have to do it by hand. But I don't mind because tomatoes are good, peppers are good, food is good, salad is good. I don't mind giving it water, taking care of it. Yeah. So if you want, this year I can show you some tips and tricks, the basics.
Yeah, I think I'll need some because I thought, well, not that I thought, but I thought about doing it, and then when I started watching a few videos and stuff like that, I'm like, holy crap, this might get complicated. So I'm like, you know what? Let me talk to Fred and
but
see
it's
what he could enlighten me on.
It's just different because when you're doing it in a container, you can get away with less. You can't get away with as much abuse as having it in the ground. The plant, it has like 2-3 feet worth of soil to go down and get water. Whereas a container, once a container dries out, bing bang, finished, it's dead. It cooks.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So
yeah,
there's ways to
makes
avoid
sense.
that too. But look, start small, be consistent, and listen to your plant and ask questions. My plant has this. Yeah, my plant has this.
I think I will. I think you might. I think you might get a few text messages and voice notes and pictures.
We all help each other. So I seek advice from gardeners who have more experience than me, and people with less experience seek information from me in the chain. We're all moving up in the world together. Yeah, I went to
that's the objective.
A friend of mine did his garden last year, and so I gave him tips and tricks, right? So he planted it at the perfect time, planted tomatoes, and he had tomato plants that were 10 feet tall. Because and he like,
holy crap!
Because he had a vertical space but not horizontal space, so I encouraged them to grow upwards. Okay. So staking the tomatoes upwards. And at one point he had a branch with it must have been like 15 tomatoes on it. I must have at least 150 pounds worth of tomatoes for the whole season. But branches were breaking off, and
wow.
And then the marmot wanted some tomatoes too, so we had to fight with the marmot. And I had like 10 skunks in my yard that we trapped last year. Anyway, Oh my god!
I
The
remember that story.
market, the raccoon. Everybody wanted to eat my vegetables. Insect infestations last year. Everything. I've seen shit last year I've never seen in my life. Yeah.
So you're the guy that imported all the
Right. Yeah.
wildlife to the area.
They figured it out.
Fred's garden. Fred's
Jesus
garden.
Christ.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun though, and it's rewarding, and it's a hobby. Like if you don't like doing it, if like it has to be a hobby
Yeah.
first. Yeah. If you're working to get your food,
Yeah.
and you're paying yourself, a couple of dollars an hour, it might not be worth your time unless you enjoy doing it. So we're not getting paid $50 an hour. Farmers don't get paid $50 an hour to grow tomatoes. So you have to love it. You have to really enjoy it, and it gets you to be outside.
And when we buy, we have to be aware of what goes on to
it makes you
get that
appreciate
produce.
what you have to eat. So that I think that's the main message. Yeah,
Exactly.
Appreciate and enjoy, and
exactly.
A little sunburn never killed anybody.
put some sunscreen on.
Yeah, SPF
put the
100
sunscreen.
This year. It's gonna be hot.
Oh my god.
Be hot.
Especially with all the no pollution or the no pollution or smog. Now, it won't block anything, right? It's going to be direct impact.
This year. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah, thanks for the tip. Yeah, get some eggplants. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Big eggplants. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Oh, cool. Maybe I get to do those bananas after all. It's gonna be hot.
So other than the supply chain demand and gardening, what else do you do as a hobby?
Hobbies. Hiking, yeah. Fred in the forest, so I go in the forest as much as I can. Like hiking.
So you're a nature guy. You're the nature guy.
I can. Getting out there and looking at nature and stuff. So I do a lot of hiking. Yeah, most.
Well, did they close? They closed. Yeah, they closed all the. I think was it national parks or even provincial parks, right? They're closed.
There's also the chance that people are going to go pollute in them even more, because if you bring these people with their COVID masks, you're just going to throw them in the forest and they're going to leave them there.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. I didn't think about that.
I imagine what they're going to see in the trail. Already enough that people throw bottles of Coca-Cola on the trail.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're going to start throwing their COVID masks. It's disgusting. Yeah. No, but I'd like to, had we not had this pandemic, I would have started up. Like as of this week, probably.
Yeah. But you did quite a bit winter time as well.
Yeah. Snowshoeing. Yeah, I did that a few times.
Yeah.
Winter hiking, it's tough.
It's good exercise
without the snowshoes. So I do snowshoeing if it's powdery snow. Skiing too. I like to do skiing and shit. Skiing is fun, but it's bad. It's hard on the knees. So yeah, maybe.
I haven't skied in years, and every winter time, I'm always like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try, and every year I'm just like, no.
Yeah, it's tough. So that's it. Okay. Yeah, I like outdoor stuff. I like campfire stuff. I like walking around in the forest. I'm getting into birds now.
Well, you live your name truly, basically, Fred in the forest.
As much as possible, with the exception of bugs. I don't like flies and mosquitoes. Apart from that, I love it a lot.
All right, so thanks for all your enlightenment on gardening and hiking and planting tomatoes and your future banana tree.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show. And was a lot of fun. And I hope to come back soon, and we can
Well,
discuss various topics and can keep you updated on the gardening, very interesting gardening season that we'll get this year.
yeah, for sure, for sure. We have a lot of shitloads to talk about, so
We sure do.
guaranteed
Yeah.
you'll be coming back for sure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was an honor and a privilege.
Thank you.
All right.